can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Happy New Year, Teri Pugh.
Happy New Year, Devon O'Day. How are you?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. We both have had the funk. I mean, it's just, the whatever this is, I hope nobody else gets it because, it just seems to linger.
It does, doesn't it? It's just like, I don't know. Somebody said, is it that RSV or is it the flu or you got COVID? I said, I know it's not COVID. I've taken 3 tests. Not COVID. I'm not real sure it was the flu because it really physically only had me for like 2 to 3 days. And now it's just that,
the lingering. Yeah, the lingering.
I call it the Macy Gray, Kim Carnes kind of, I'm in that season of it right now, Yeah. I don't sound nearly as sexy as they sound, but I'm in that season of it right now.
That sounds awesome. We've got our New Year plans. Joyce is with us. Good morning, Joyce. Good to have you here. Happy New Year. Elizabeth is here. Lots of people are joining us. Nice. If you guys, some people are on the Transcending Turbulence page, some people are joining us on my Facebook page, and some people are joining us on X this morning. So we are all places that we can be. LinkedIn. And so wherever you are, let us know where you are and let us know where you're viewing us from. We're going to talk about a new year. And you had some really scrumptious little things that were very anointed and very, very insightful on your page. And so that's what kind of got me started on this.
Okay. So what is it today? Where are we going?
We're talking about reboot or a complete fresh start. And I want to start out with this. I often hear folks say, this is from Teri. I often hear folks say, I just need closure. We're at the end of a year. There were a lot of endings and a lot of passings, a lot of things that we said goodbye to or said goodbye to us in 23. So from you, it says, I gently challenge them to review their situation, relationship, seeing it for what it is, not what they want it to be. Once they have, I pose the question, do you need closure or do you already have it? And you unpack this in so many ways. The stonewalling and avoidance were closure.
Yeah. And anything can be closure if you're looking at it, because oftentimes we fool ourselves, whether it's a job you want to leave, a relationship you want to leave, a relationship that left you, a job that left you, family members or friends or people that you're just you have to ask yourself, how much longer do you put your well-being in the hands of someone or a situation that is maybe not in your best interest, even though you would like it to be because it's comfortable or because it is familiar. And a lot of times we fool ourselves by saying, I just need this from this other person. We've peppered conversations in the past before where people say, I just need that closure from this person. And I challenge people to create their own closure, because if you look at it for what it is and not what you want it to be, you can see with a clearer lens what you're actually dealing with. Doesn't mean it wasn't wonderful or warm and fuzzy or satisfying or fulfilling, whatever it is in the beginning. But what is it now? And what has it been for a while? And stop selling yourself short.
Ooh, it's true. I was talking to someone who had gone out with someone and they were developing a friendship, and then my friend had a bad day, and this person, instead of responding like a friend would and walking them through it and just giving them their space, whatever, just completely said, ghosted and left. And my precious friend said, I'm just going to go to their house because nobody's going to do that to me. And I went,
all righty then.
I said, well, if you want to do that, that's fine, but you're not going to get what you think you are.
No.
You might get the police called on you. You might have an issue like that, or you might be very hurt by the reaction, which you cannot control. You cannot force someone into giving you what you want. You can't do that. So Elizabeth says, if someone slams a door on me, that's closure enough.
Right. Well, and here's the thing is that we get so caught up in the things oftentimes that, that last word, we get so caught up in that last word that you can drag that stuff in decades. I mean, I work with people who will say, it's been 5 years and I'm still not over this. And, okay, well, then you're in the right place, but you better be ready to be over it.
That's right.
Because if you're not ready for it, you won't be.
That's right. The unresponsiveness and silence or closure. You cannot force someone to tell you the words that you want to hear. You cannot.
Well, exactly. And if you're in a job, and a lot of people are in careers and jobs, and they go to their boss and they say, hey, can you help me with this? Or what do you think about this? Or I've done really well on this. And what are your thoughts? And you get unresponsiveness. You get people who don't meet you with, there's not a readiness to communicate, and then those people stay in those jobs for decades, unhappy, unfulfilled. And they keep thinking, well, if I just light myself on fire one more time, maybe they'll recognize my value or my worth. No. Take your ass on down the road and start doing something else, and don't burn yourself up. And it's not your job to set yourself on fire to keep those people warm.
That's right. That's right.
No.
And you cannot go for a fresh start if you're still trying to get some kind of closure.
No, when you also have to be responsible enough to get closure and be done with closure.
Yeah. You have to be ready to move
people
on.
That'll say, I know people that'll say, well, I need some closure. And then a month later, I need some more closure. And then a year later, I need some more closure. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're just playing now. You're just playing now.
Yeah.
Get your shit together and get your closure, create your closure, and move on with your life, because you're getting something out of staying stuck.
Yeah. I loved this one, especially the lack of apology and accountability or closure. I think this is especially poignant when we're talking about a parental figure.
Yeah.
When we keep expecting the parental figure to do something to make up for those years of whether it's physical, mental abuse, maybe they were a narcissist, maybe they were unwell, maybe they were addicted, and you bore the brunt of that, and you're still waiting for your apology.
Well, the problem with that, waiting on that apology, depending on how your brain formulates your survival skill set, waiting on an apology from a parent who has wronged you in some way or neglected you in some way as a child will create an adult who will then wrong or neglect other people while they're waiting on an apology from their parent. So you perpetuate a really unhealthy cycle.
Candy joins us. How are you, Candy? Good to have you with us. Elizabeth says, if I don't want the change someone else has decided I must face, not sure anything can make it okay, except my acceptance. It's true. I mean, we don't always get that thing that we're looking for. I remember I was in a session with Teri, and I'm just going to just tell you right now, I was really just in a I had sown some resentment seeds in my garden. and they had become kudzu around my heart and my brain and my feet. I couldn't move because of the resentment seeds that were holding me in place. And this person had wronged me. And was I justified in my anger, in my resentment, in what? Justified, fine. But it wasn't serving me.
Right.
And you said, what would you have them do? And I said, I want an apology. I want an apology. By God. And you said, okay, so you're not going to get that. So now what are you going to do? You're going to spend your rest of your life not doing anything, not moving forward, not getting started, how much of your life are you going to devote to this person who will never give you what you want? And boy,
Right.
did that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Did it sting?
It for a minute. But here's what I did. I got me some scissors.
Right.
And I started cutting those ties. And
Yeah.
I said, and I started looking at the things I was planting in my garden. I said, you know what? I can't grow anything else because you cannot plant corn and potatoes and stuff that will nourish you in a garden that's filled with kudzu or morning glories, because those things will choke out all the nourishing stuff. And that's what I had done. I had planted that. So if you're in that thing, looking at that, where what can I control? What can I do? First of all, what do you plant in your garden? And second of all, start cutting those ties to the resentment vines that are there. That's your closure. The lack of intimacy and presence were closure. Ooh, that's like, let's talk about that in those love relationships.
Well, intimacy can obviously be physical intimacy, sexual stuff, or it can be an emotional intimacy.
Yeah,
A
that's really what I
vulnerability.
mean.
Yeah, I mean, it can be the lack of feeling safe in your own environment is huge. It's huge. And when you're not present, when someone is not present with you, when they sit and they either excuse me, are watching TV or scrolling or talking on the phone or ignoring.
You're locked out. You're locked out.
Yeah, you're locked out of there. You are not, and I'm not saying that you can't be in a space with someone and have them doing that stuff occasionally. But the kick comes in when they're doing those things and they're sullen in the house, and then they're on the phone with a friend and they're ha 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 ha, ha, and then they're sullen in the house again. And when they start using that stuff against you, you're on your phone all the time and you're like, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure my phone's on silent and sitting in the other room, or, you do this all the time, or you do that all the time. You got to be careful when people start with that projection stuff, because most of the time they're projecting what they're doing back at you. And let's be real, that shit can get, whirly, swirly, peppermint, I know you are, what am I? I know you are, what am I? Because it's like, okay, if they're ignoring you and then they say you're ignoring them and then you're trying to ignore them because they're ignoring you, before you just got to be adult enough to not want to play games with people. Like if you love that person and you want to, play tootsies and footsies with them, knock yourself out. But don't put yourself in a position with a friend, a family member, a lover, a former partner, a boss, or anybody where your happiness is based on how much you can contort yourself into being something that they think is going to make them happy, or a job that's going to make them, you can do this for them and it'll make them happy. Because if they can't make themselves happy, nobody else will ever make them happy.
Right. And you become
and you'll destroy yourself trying.
And the thing that I'm talking about, what hit me with that was not the intimacy of a sexual relationship, because there are many, many people that have sexual relationships that have no intimacy whatsoever. I'm talking about the connection of souls, the connection where you can trust someone with your life. You can trust them with your stories, with your past, with your present, you can trust them with what's going on with you. And they can trust you with that same thing. And they do. And there's that give and take where you can share any of your words and any of your stuff that in a kind way, with each other. I don't mean someone that dumps on you either. I don't mean that.
Sure. And
there are people that literally find themselves in relationships with someone who is just a wall. And, when you're thinking about that, that is a closure in its own self. If you've been with someone for a long time and you really have not really had a decent conversation in about, 10 years, I mean, literally that happens. I see people all the time that have been in these relationships where they just haven't shared at all. And it's just become this place. And I go, that's not, oh, okay, here we go. The lack of respect and honesty was closure. That's it right there.
Well, I mean, I think people can be as honest as they can be based on their life experiences. But when you are an individual who you're trying to cultivate integrity in your life, you got to be honest. And a lot of times people have a hard time doing that. And so there can be projection on other people that they're not honest. And it's like, you got to know, bottom line, with any kind of closure that you're getting from someone or getting for yourself, you got to know that you trust yourself. Bottom line, you trust yourself, because it doesn't matter what kind of closure a person is trying to acquire. First off, you got to know why you need it. Secondly, you got to be real. When you get it, is that really what you want? Do you really want the closure? Because I can assure you that when you get the closure, if that's really what you want, then you'll be ready to step out into your life and start living a different life. And at that point, you can't circle back and go, yeah, but just this one other thing. Now, does that mean that the job that you had, or the person that you loved, or the family member that wronged you, does it mean that you won't ever have a little ping and go like, oh, man, I sure do. I miss that person, or, I wish them well. Or does it mean that you're just going to cut them out of your life and never speak to them and pretend like they never existed? No, because that's psychotic. Like that's psychotic.
I'm sorry. I sound like one of those little cartoon dogs with my wheeze, but it is so.
Well, I mean, look, we live in a world where adults, grown adults that paying their own bills and their taxes, feel like if someone wrongs you, you just cut them out of your life. You never think about them. You only hope bad things happen to them and they never existed. Well, that's just not how life works. Like, yes, if somebody has threatened your life and you've had to get an order or a protection order or something like that on them, probably a good thing is you keep your distance. But to spend time in a job or with a family member or with a partner or a former partner and then pretend like that never happened, that reeks of completely being emotionally constipated. Like that reeks of showing just of the level of your childness. That's
right.
What that is.
As Shar says, that's not good mojo.
Not at all, because that's a part of your life. So what you're doing is you're taking experiences, growth opportunities. You're taking all of this, you're taking a chunk of your life and you're just going, that doesn't matter anymore. Every experience we have matters. Some are going to set us up to grow wiser, and others are going to ping our hearts, but we're still going to grow wiser.
Amen. And the whole idea that we cannot press our reset and our reboot and whatever if we won't let go of the thing that is holding us into last year. Let's say last year or 10 years ago, and we're still holding on to it. The divorce that's been over for 5 years and we still can't get over it. There are things that if we want a fresh start or a reboot, I always say sometimes we don't need a reboot. We need a complete fresh start. I need a new computer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes we can't even reboot enough.
Well, but here's the thing. If there's something that has happened years ago and a person consciously keeps hanging on to it, tethering themselves to that memory, tethering themselves to that pain, tethering themselves to that, they're getting something out of that. Mm-hmm. It allows them to not live fully. And not living fully might feel scary. So it allows them to be safe. It allows them to not step into, a client sent me that the other day and I thought it was so sweet. And it's very true. I tell people all the time, this work is it going to be always easy? No. Is it going to be worth it? Abso-freaking-lutely, it's worth it. When we start to morph into a different level of ourselves, there's a beautiful awakening that happens. And it's also scary because we've never been there. I just said to a client this morning, we're having a conversation around a particular topic and it was like, well, yeah, but I don't know if that exists. And I said, have you ever had it? And they were like, no. And I mean, I just don't know. And I was like, well, that's why you don't know if it exists. Because if you lived, let's just say you lived in a town that all the people, in like the Truman Show, let's just say you lived in the Truman Show and every day, every person had PBJs for lunch. Every day, every person had PBJs for lunch. The commercials, the TV shows, everybody you saw on TV, every time they were eating lunch, they were eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Well, can you imagine what would happen if all of a sudden somebody just threw down some chicken salad in front of you? That's not how we do it. That's not how it's done. All I know is this. I've never had that other thing, so it can't exist. Yes, it can.
Uh-huh.
We live in a huge, amazing, beautiful, abundant, spectacular, yummy world. There's more than PBJ.
There is.
PBJ's your jam. And you love it, knock yourself out. But don't say that's all. Don't say this is the only job you can ever get. Don't say this is the only person you can ever be with. Don't say this is the only car you can ever drive or the only whatever. Don't limit yourself.
You shortchange yourself.
A world of abundance. Yes.
You shortchange yourself. My mom used to really mess me up because I hate change. I mean, I'm just going to tell you right now, I hate it. I don't like change. And she just loved change. She would go in and just for the kicks of it, she would make the chicken salad that I loved and adored and stick apples in it. I'm going, what? I don't want no apples in my chicken salad. It's sweet. I want savory. I don't want it. I want dill pickles. I don't want sweet pickles. I want my chicken salad the way you've always made it. She goes, I always change it up. And I said, no, you don't always change it up. It has been the same way ever since I've been alive. She goes, you hadn't been alive very long. No, I'm going to put apples in it. And I fought it. I fought it. Guess what I liked? Apples in my chicken salad. It was a different thing. It tasted different, but guess what? Now I go to Arby's when the chicken salad's back on the menu and they put apples and stuff in their chicken salad, apples and walnuts in chicken salad. It's like my favorite thing on the planet whenever that comes back to Arby's. And I'm going, all that time I was really shortchanging myself of the way my mom wanted to. She wanted to, that's her caution to the wind. I'm going to put apples in it. Why? Because she had apples and she didn't have pickles.
Right. And a lot of times, depending on your upbringing, for some people, change isn't easy because nothing was ever consistent in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was consistent in childhood. So change as an adult is never easy. I know somebody who lost their mind one time because somebody had moved a book. Well, I think a book rack had been moved at some point, and they just one day recognized, like a year later, that the book rack wasn't there, like a little magazine rack kind of thing.
Yep.
And lost their mind. Like they completely had when I say an emotional break, they had an emotional break. And I mean, it was a sad thing to watch because it was like, wow. Like, because for some people, you don't think change is a big deal. I lived in the same house for 27 years. If you'd have told me then that, I mean, my ex-husband tried and tried and tried, let's move to Kentucky with my family. Are you kidding me? Hell no. Love your family. Not going to Kentucky, because I didn't want change. I didn't want change.
No, I know. As Joyce is going with this, I'm with you, Devon. I absolutely hate change. And I hate that I'm this way. Well, we just learn to love ourselves wherever we are. Shar says, I'm finding this out with my new iPhone. Get over frustrated, then decided to chill out and let it flow.
That's right, Shar. That is right. I mean, look, you've got the blessing of having a new iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's going to be some growth pains with that stuff. I'm not a techie person. I mean, I'm the first person to admit that. I am not a techie person. Sometimes you just have to take a breath and sit back and go, you know what? And sometimes you got to sit back and, Joyce, you got to quit hating the things about yourself that you don't like and just learn to be okay, with that.
Dale, I love you so much. I'm so glad I haven't seen Dale on the show live before. And I just love him to pieces. He's a great singer-songwriter. And Chance has been the most consistent. Change, I think is what you mean. Change has been the most consistent thing in my life. The only thing consistent is change. You are right, Dale. And I've had to kind of wrap around it. And Shar says, I know nothing about technology. That happens. That's where we are. But you know what? I've learned that as long as we are learning, we are still alive. As long as we are willing to learn.
A lot of times people will say, well, change is not easy. Well, I would challenge people who say change is not easy. I'm not saying it doesn't come with its own challenges. But is it any easier than staying miserable?
True.
I don't think so. And for some people, change is like, it happens so often that you can learn to really roll with it. It doesn't mean that you're flippant in your life. It just means that when things happen in life, you can learn to pivot and navigate, and it makes you, or doesn't make you, but it allows you to be a little more receptive to life just unfolding the way that it unfolds. Because the one consistent in life is that it's inconsistent. There is always going to be, if there isn't change, can you imagine? I mean, if there weren't change, we'd all be shitting our diapers right now still. Like, for real. We have to evolve. And that's what we do.
Right.
And what a blessing evolving is as a human being.
And
now, it doesn't always mean, what's that?
And as much as I would love to ride horses everywhere, getting to Nashville would be an all-day event, and I'd spend the night there if I was riding a horse there.
Right.
Let's just be real. Things do change and things get better. Things get worse. We can hold on to the things we don't want to let go of, but let go of what does not serve you. As we go into 24, if it is not serving you, make the change to let it go.
And you know what, Devon? Here's a possibility for you. It is not impossible for you to ride horses all the time. You could move to Montana and you could live on a ranch and you could ride horses all the time. Or you could move to Hopkinsville, Kentucky and convert to being an Amish and you could ride horses all the time. What would happen is your priorities around everything else that you do now would change.
True that.
So we can do the things we want to do. It just means that we're going to have to compromise to work up, to work up into that.
That's right. Mona just joined it. Yep, change is hard. Preach it, sister. Elizabeth said, change is hard, and change has brought me the most amazing friends and adventures.
Right. And see, and I even challenge that. Me, because I'm always going to challenge the word hard. Concrete is hard. Change is challenging. But there are some amazing gifts that come when we don't fight the change. When we don't resist. Now, I'm not talking about, somebody doing you wrong and you got to stand your ground and hunker down and, whatever. I'm not talking about that kind of change. I'm talking about, the change that happens in life for women and men. Men lose their hair. Artists struggle with their voice. Women go through menopause and end up getting dry vaginas. Men have erectile dysfunction. All that stuff happens. It's change. We can either go, well, kind of knew that was on the horizon. Sucks, but let me see how I can work with this.
Yeah.
Or we can get mad at ourselves. What are you laughing about?
You. I had no idea where today was going to go. That last little thing, I'm going, didn't expect that.
Well,
yeah. And we're just all laughing.
It's a new year, Devin. It's a new year. Everybody better buckle up because we're going for it this year.
We are going for it this year, and all that stuff works. And I said, all that said and done, but I get a discount at Denny's, and that's exactly what
right.
I go, all this other stuff has gone to hell in a handbasket, but I get my discount at Denny's, which makes me happy. And Dale is just I know. Y'all, I was not expecting that.
Here's the thing. We all know all of these things. There's a potential for those things happening, right? So if we know there's a potential for them happening, then we have time to either create a space of acceptance and grace and love and gentleness, or we can become bitter and angry and all that stuff. And
I know I have friends that literally
serve us.
I have an acquaintance that really doesn't want to leave the house anymore because their face has changed so much, and they don't like the way age is. That's I can't be in public anymore, and I'm going, oh my gosh, it's like, oh, stop that, because there's gonna be a day when you can't maybe walk or be out in public, and now you can still drive. My gosh, Paul, who is in Virginia, says, kind of like change itself. Sometimes you don't expect it.
Absolutely, Paul. Absolutely. And that's the thing, is that if you don't like change now, maybe 2024 is a year to introduce yourself to change in small ways. Small ways.
Before we get out of here, we have got 2 spaces left. If somebody would like to be on Saturday, part of our reboot at Teri's office, it's bring a sack lunch, and we're going to do some really fun things. But we've only got 2 spaces left. And if you guys have not been.
It's from 10 to 5. Excuse me. It's from 10 to 5. And that's a long day, but there is so much packed in this day that it is so worth it. So if you're interested in doing it, let us know. We're going to be reconnecting, reclaiming, rejuvenating, releasing, reframing, and it's all in lightness, right? We're not going to be necessarily diving off into our traumas from the past, and there's individual sessions and all kinds of stuff for that. We're not doing that. We are going to challenge ourselves to look at change. We're going to challenge ourselves to embrace new things. I'm not going to have slugs for anybody to eat or anything like that, but we are going to challenge ourselves in very loving ways. And this is the 3rd year we've done it. And it's just
every single year is something new. Elizabeth has joined us. I think you've been to all of them, right, Elizabeth? I think you've been to Reboot is such an amazing day every year. I love that. Shar says, love you all, must go cook for bingo. I love you, Shar.
There you go. Enjoy.
Absolutely. And Joy says, "Oh, she can't make it this week." Well, that's okay. That's okay. We take these days that we can have this reboot, and it's right. And we could have waited, and we just said, "Nope, it's got to be right there that first week. We got to jump right on in there and do this." That's what it's about. And so there are two spaces.
Yep, 2 spaces left. And you're right, Devon. I mean, we could have done this 3 months from now, but the truth of it is, it's not so much, well, I guess it is for people who track with calendar years and the new beginning kind of thing, that it's wonderful for that. But also it's really good after you come off of like the Labor Days and the Octobers and Halloweens and Thanksgivings and Hanukkahs and Christmases and Boxing Days and all the things that everybody does. And Happy New Year, and here we all are. And now there's all these expectations. Not that we don't pressure ourselves enough, but I know there's over a fourth or over 3/4 of the planet's pressuring themselves right now on all these goals that they have set that they're going to keep for 2024. And if you can do it, fantastic. And if you don't, give yourself some grace and figure out what's keeping you stuck. And that's what this reboot is about. It's about cutting the energy that's been draining you and creating space to take ownership to live that life that you want to live. And I know the first part of the year, everybody's out there talking about live your best life, new year, new you. I got news for you. It's a new year. It's not a new you. It's the same damn you that it's been forever. And if you don't change the things, and if you don't change the things that aren't working for you now, at the end of 23 or 24, when we're going into 25, you're going to be talking about you're still doing the same things you were doing in 23.
Shar says, "I can't find my arrow to leave."
Just walk away, Shar. Just walk away. Just get up and walk away. We'll be here when you get back. Just go cook for bingo.
Oh, that's so funny. And Jill joins us. Hey, Jill. Happy New Year to you. And Shar said, "Found it. Bye."
Bye.
Elizabeth says, "I said screw resolution several years ago, setting myself up for failure." You know what? I have done a word for many years, a word for the year. And you know what came to me this year?
What?
Use it.
Use it?
That's my phrase. It became, instead of a word, mine is use it. And whatever I'm not using,
you're rehoming, you're regifting for someone else to use.
And what I had was this wonderful coffee that had been gifted to me. People give me coffee like people used to give me wine. Thank you for that, by the way, because I let go of some things that weren't serving me, and coffee always serves me. And so people had given me coffee, and I've been saving it for special occasion. I had a whole freezer full of delicious coffee. And my friend Teri Pugh gave me a coffee maker that she didn't need. And I was just using my Keurig, which is an okay cup of coffee. I mean, it's all right, whatever. It's not the same as a good brewed cup of coffee. It's just not the same. And I had forgotten how much I loved it. So I decided to start using all of this coffee that was gifted to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up with save it. It's a collector's item. Save it for special occasion. Save it, save it, save it. And my word for the year is use it. And I'm going to use what I've got. And if mom says, my mom used to say, well, you'll just tear it up. Okay. All right. If I tear it up and something gets broken or something, okay. I'm not carrying a U-Haul with me to heaven. So I'm going to go ahead and use it while I'm here. I'm going to experience whatever it is. Wear the perfume.
Use it. Yeah. And if you don't use it and it's something that you really love, I can tell you from firsthand experience, if it's something that you don't use, but you really love it and you're attached to it, when you can pry it out of your fingers, there is such a beautiful sensation that fills you up when you give it to someone else or gift it to someone else who is excited to have it and will use it.
Amen.
You know, there's something so beautiful about that. And you've given it forward, you've paid it forward, and then someone else is getting to use it and they're loving it.
See, like that coffee maker you gave me.
That's right.
I love it. And Paul says, I've always believed in a balance between reaching for the future and remembering the past. Both are healthy in balance. Like Casey Kasem used to say, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a balance that is had. And a lot of times people they create such discord in their past that they don't want to look back at it, you know, or they look back at it and they pick it to death and they bring all the pain with them. And if you're looking back at the past, you're preserving it and you're bringing it into your future with you. And, you know, you've got to find, there's so much sweetness in the past, even if it was something, if it was a relationship, a job, you know, a pet that's no longer with you, a loved one that's no longer with you. There's so much sweetness that's just beyond that pain.
Amen.
Of that life that was well lived, or that job that was so appreciated, or that whatever. And I get it. Some people have fine-tuned their vision to where the world is, you know, they're a little jaded, they're a little cynical, or a lot, and the world's just not a fun place anymore. But, you know, I tell people all the time, I got fewer days ahead of me than I got behind me right now. And is that how that saying goes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at me. I'm going to turn 60 this year. And I'm like, I don't know. Is that how that goes? I don't know. Somebody's like, how does it feel to be almost 60? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never been it. How's it supposed to feel? I feel like I'm 40. So I'm probably not the best person to ask that. But, you know, you got to be able to look back and go, dang, that, you know, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But, man, I have some appreciation for it.
I love it.
Even if it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, it worked out the way it was supposed to, because there's something else in store. Job-wise, home-wise, living-wise, career-wise, whatever-wise, there's something else to step into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are people who are joining us right now on X, on my page, on your page. And I'm just so glad that you guys are all here today. We're going to bring things to a close. And our last comment today, Teri, you look great. I'm working on a new vision board right now. It has been years. True believer.
Thank you. Oh, I am so, well, first, thank you so much for that compliment. And secondly, I'm so excited you're doing a vision board, because I think they are fantastic. I know a lot of people got the woo-woos around it and they're like, oh, vision board, schmission board. But I could tell y'all stories about working with the gentleman at Riverbend doing their vision boards and them making parole and living the exact life with a few tweaks along the way that they had on their vision boards. And there is absolutely nothing that we cannot have or acquire if you truly believe that you want it. And I mean that, and then I get it, that there are things that happened in life a lot of times that can be pretty catastrophic.
Yeah.
And I've had people come in before, and when I say that to them, they go, well, I can't be a Victoria's Secret model. And I just look at them and I'm like, well, do you really want to be one? Well, no. Well, then why are you even saying that? What do you want? Like, how about we put the energy on what it is you do want to receive, you're willing to receive. And how about we put down that backpack that everybody in our life has stuffed all their neeners, you know, you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. Or we've watched people work themselves into a lather over not being enough and they got to do more. And then we think, well, darn, if they're in a lather because they're not doing enough, I suck because I sure ain't doing enough. Let me try to do more. No, this is the year to put it down. This is the year to allow yourself to put it down.
Well, Jill is a miracle. She ended up in the hospital earlier this year with a heart attack. And I mean, she changed so much about her life and how she's doing life. And she is here. And, you know, we've all had our health challenges this year. And if nothing gets you shaken to your core to leave the bad and move into a new productive future, health issues will.
Just leave what's not working for you.
What is not serving you.
Because what's not working for you you might think it's bad, but it might be perfect for somebody else. It's just not working for you.
Yeah. So we're going to close things out. If you guys have a topic for a future show, devonod@gmail.com. And I'm going to turn it over to Teri, because that's the email address at the bottom right here, Teri@terapeut.com. If you want to be one of those last two spaces in our reboot on Saturday, you give her a message there.
Well, yes, you can give me a message there. If you go there, go to the contact page, and then it's going to send me an email. And if you would rather, because I'm lame, I'm just going to say, call me or shoot me a text, 615-513-2700. And let me take that back. I'm not lame. I'm actually pretty damn good. I just put it out there because that's just what it is, right? We live in a world where everybody's like, ooh, it's all secrecy. And it's like, no, it's just a phone number. Like we're not solving world hunger or, cracking any big codes with the phone number. You want to join us? There's 2 spaces left. We would absolutely love to have you. And if you can't join us this year, then maybe you can catch us next year or at one of the ones that we do during the year. It won't be a reboot, but it's equally fun and fabulous. So
absolutely.
All of that to say, as you go through these next few weeks, carve out time, space, and a chunk of grace for yourself, because if you are a resolution setter, odds are you're going to stumble somewhere along the next couple of weeks. And don't let that stumble be the end of your journey. And if you're not a resolution setter and you just are taking life one thought at a time, then plant some pretty amazing seeds in there to come to fruition for those thoughts. And when you feel that kudzu, like Devon was talking about earlier, weaving in and kind of going, don't sit there and look at it and go, oh, it's so pretty. No, it's, pretty can be pretty dangerous if you're not careful. So tend to your garden so that at the end of this season of this year, you allow yourself to feel pretty good about where you are, and you're not looking back with remorse about wishing you had done things so much better. Just do it from the beginning and know that you're human, and the humanness is going to trip us all up sometimes. But that's the beautiful thing about life. It's not so much how life's treating us, it's how we're treating life. So with that said, I will end this with just saying that we appreciate all of you for choosing to share your energy and your time with us weekly Wednesdays. And until we see you next week, increase your peace. See ya.
Bye, guys.